What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 93. I'm sometimes I get taken aback by how many of these things I've done. 93. Fuck. So this is a solo one. I'm going to cover a couple of things. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this one. I'm recording it on January 18th, Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. So it'll probably be out within a couple of hours, I would think. I just wanted to cover a couple of things, give an update. This is sort of a state of the union, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but maybe that's the working title. First and foremost, I am just getting over COVID, my first run with COVID, and I don't recommend it at all. It sucks. I'm still a little congested, and I still have a bit of a cough. Hopefully I won't cough too much during this. I haven't really felt much like editing too deeply lately, so hopefully I don't have to cough. I don't have to edit too much because I won't cough. But so let's cover a few things that I want to go back to a couple of episodes and cover just a couple of things that I feel like I've missed. And when I do solo episodes, I just get a topic in mind and I run with it. And I usually wait for, that's why sometimes there are gaps. If I don't have anything recorded, I'm not going to force an episode. So there will be gaps in episodes. Also, COVID threw me for a loop, but I usually wait until I have something that something that's on my heart that I really want to talk about. So when I do that, I don't really plan it out. And so sometimes I get done and I listen to it during editing and I go, oh shit, I should have said this or that or whatever. And so I want to cover just a few things, sort of backfill, I guess, if you will. So the first thing is the Who Am I Now episode. And I covered that because that's a big question when you go through this process. Your identity is destroyed and you don't know who you are. And one thing I didn't say that I do say frequently, and I don't know why, but I missed it in that episode, is the answer to that question, who am I now, is whoever the fuck you want to be. And I love that phrase or answer to that question, and I just forgot it. So if you were listening to that episode and you asked yourself that question, and I'm sure you probably have, I'm sure you probably are, the answer is whoever the fuck you want to be. So I just wanted to cover that because I think it's an important distinction. It's up to you. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the story, the episode on how could she do this, I think is what I called it. And like I said, I got that from largely from the book Rising Strong sheesh. COVID is still affecting things. My ability to speak is one of them. From the book Rising Strong by Brene Brown, but also narrative therapy is centered around that. I don't want to say theme, but that idea that our lives are told in stories, and therefore, when things change, our stories change. So, one of the things I didn't cover in that, and I'm sure there were questions in my mind, is the why. You know, when I talk about Lance Armstrong, his story changed because of his actions. And you might have been thinking, but I didn't do anything. And that's probably true, mostly true. But unfortunately, we don't know the answer to why her story changed. And here's the crazy or shitty part is she probably doesn't know either. It could be that there was an accumulation of stuff over the years that finally caused her to change her story and her view. I don't know how likely that is. And that's the tricky part. That's the part that can be frustrating and can cause you to ruminate is we just can't answer that question. We don't know why their story changed. And I'm willing to bet I don't know how much, but small amount perhaps, that they don't know either, because I think they change due to emotions, and their emotions cause them to change how they see things. And so therefore it's feeling and it's not logic. So I think it's important to recognize that you're not going to ever, more than likely, you're never going to find the answer to why did her story change. And I know that's frustrating, because when you're looking at it and you're thinking, but I didn't do anything different. I was the way that I was. Or what was frustrating for me was she was bringing up stuff from years and years ago. And I just thought, but that was so long. That's not even who I am now. Like, thought we had dealt with that. But that's what they needed to fuel their story. They needed these things to validate their story change. They see you differently. The story of you changes. They need some kind of fuel, and they would find anything they could, or at least in my case. So it's an unfortunate and frustrating component. But once you kind of come to acceptance or grips with the fact that you're never going to be able to answer the why, then you can let go, because finding an answer is just not possible. So I wanted to cover that, and I understand the frustration of it all. I sometimes don't understand it. I never probably will fully understand it, but I don't try to anymore. And I'll get to some things that have occurred lately in my life, but yeah, that's an unfortunate part of this stuff, is that we want that closure essentially, but we're not going to get it in that manner. And one of the best, I can't remember the quote word for word. I can't even remember I can remember the gist of it. It's in John Kim's book, Single on Purpose. And it's not him. He uses it. It's a quote from someone else that he uses. And it's essentially, it says that closure begins the moment when you stop looking back at what could have been and start looking forward to what could be. So it's not about figuring out why. It's about letting go of the past and moving on to the future. And again, I know that's really hard, but it's not impossible. And it's the only path forward for your mental health. So if you find yourself, after you listen to that episode or during, yelling at it and going, but I didn't do anything. Lance Armstrong's story changed because of his actions. I didn't do anything different. I was the same guy I've always been. And that could be true, and is more than likely probably true. But it didn't matter to her. For some reason, it changed. It could be, and there are things you could speculate until the cows come home, right? Midlife crisis, somebody else in her ear, coworkers even. It's not always another dude, although that's, I don't know the percentage, but a large part of these stories, seems to always be a guy. But there's no study, there's no data, so I don't know that for sure. I would say that for me, it was a part of it, but it wasn't the totality of it. And perhaps what happens is a seed gets planted by another guy, an idea, attention in a different way that causes that story to change. I don't know. Again, it's really honestly a giant fucking waste of time to try and figure out. So if you find yourself, frustrated, I get it, but it's unfortunate. We'll just never know. So anyway, I want to move on to something else, something I'm really excited about. So Mr. Christopher Long and I have been talking for a long time about doing shows together and recording episodes on various topics, on sort of the initial thought and how we're going to head into this is we're going to review certain episodes and talk about them. That's all we're going to do. We're either going to call it The Discourse with Chris and Mike or Rendered by Fire. I like both of those, and you can send me a message or comment somewhere or something as to what you like, or maybe you don't like either of them. I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal, but Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we call it, but essentially to be Chris and I sitting down and talking about various topics, from his veteran sort of point of view of being divorced now for, I think it's 20 years now. We can he can correct me in our first episode. And then my side of it, my view, and I'm really excited about it. So here's the thing about it. It's only going to be on YouTube. It's not, it's still associated with this podcast. I don't know how it will be named exactly, but somehow Rising Phoenix will be in there somehow, I think, or some way. I'm not sure. That's why I like the Rendered by Fire. And it also speaks to my coaching program, which is called Forged by Fire. So, but I also like the discourse. I don't know. But either way, it's like I said, it's only going to be on YouTube. And for the first week, it's only going to be to the Phoenix Warriors. And I have been severely lacking on providing my Phoenix Warriors with texts that I'm supposed to be sending. And I don't have the bandwidth to do it anymore. To be quite honest with you, the coaching business is actually starting to pick up, and I'll get to that. And it's very exciting. And so I'm going to replace that. I'm still probably going to keep the texting and still send out stuff here and there. Certainly links to the shows will probably be sent out via text, but it'll certainly be posted in the Warriors section of the Discord. But it's going to only be on YouTube. And I'm doing that. I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm getting a lot of listens for the podcast, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's harder to get paid via the podcast than it would be if it was on YouTube, just because of, I mean, I still need 1,000 subscribers, and I'm nowhere near that on YouTube. So I'm pushing people to YouTube. The podcast audio of Rising Phoenix podcast is not going away. It's still going to also be on YouTube. It will be both, but the audio portion will not go away. It will still be free. It will always be free. I can't imagine a scenario where it isn't. But the first week of release of these Chris and Mike episodes, whatever we're going to call it, will be available to the Warriors only, and only on YouTube. So if you're listening to this via audio and you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. I would appreciate it. Again, I try to be transparent in general in life, and I want to do this shit for a living. And one of the ways to do that is to monetize it via YouTube, and it still would be free. It just the ad revenue would go, if I get to the certain number of subscribers. I'm actually not unsure on, man, this COVID is affecting my ability to talk. I'm not 100% sure how it works on YouTube, only in that I know that it takes 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize. So followers of the audio portion of the podcast via the big three, which is Apple iTunes, which is where most of my listens come from, Spotify, which is second for me, and then Google Podcast, which is third. There are other podcasts, and perhaps you're listening through another service that you follow me on. I can't get numbers for those services in terms of followers. I know there's like Deezer, Podcast Republic. There's a few different smaller ones that people use. I can see that people listen via those apps or programs, but it doesn't provide, or at least I haven't been able to find any follower info. But the big three combined, as I sit here right now, I have 840 followers. So I'm not going to do a whole episode on that, but I did want to touch on it and just say, holy fucking shit. That's that's a lot of people. And I'm grateful. I know that there are people out there that have, thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of followers and subscribers. But as I say, sometimes I'm just a dude in his basement in Pennsylvania. So I appreciate all of you so very, very much. And I think that I am accomplishing what was my initial goal, which is I don't think I know I am. I'm providing a resource to you guys to help you get through divorce. And on that note, this is not written in my notes. I'm curious as to Spotify. I think it's Spotify gives me demographic info, and I believe there's only 5% of you that are listening, at least via Spotify, that are females. If you are a female listener, I would love to hear from you. I'm not trying to date you, although, I mean, I am single, but I am just curious. How did you find it? What are you getting anything out of it? I would just love feedback from I have one iTunes review from a female, and I don't even know who the person is. So weird that I wish there was a little bit more reaching out, and I get some interaction, don't get me wrong, from guys in the Discord server, from guys in the Facebook group, but I would love more feedback, honestly. I think it's really cool to hear from you, that those of you that listen, and especially, I should say especially, but I'm much more curious, I guess, about the female's perspective of the show. And if you have any comments or anything, I'd love to hear from you. If you know the show because we dated, you don't have to reach out. It's okay. That's all I'll say on that. So let's move on, and let's talk about my story. I want to touch on, the episode 1. I am, I'm pretty candid and open and honest, right? I think it takes some significant guts to be that way, and it, as I know, as I say, shame doesn't survive sunlight. The things that I did with my now ex-wife, and I'll get to that. I guess there's a spoiler there. I was ashamed of, and I think in some ways I still am. But when you expose things, when you bring them to light, it kills the shame. So, but I want to talk about why I did it, and one is 3 reasons. If I remember them all correctly, the first is I did want to be authentic and be real, and I think that that's the best way to be in life in general. And I think if you're going to look at me as a resource, I think you would be much more inclined to do so if you thought I was real and authentic, because that's the people that I have followed throughout my life are always people that I feel are real and authentic. John Kim, Gary Vaynerchuk, Howard Stern. Actually, I used to be a huge Howard fan. I don't listen to him anymore just because of the fact that he's on Sirius, and I just got tired of paying for it, for essentially what was just his show, and him not being on that often. I don't know what his schedule is now. I don't know what he does now. I don't know what he's doing. I always thought he was a great interviewer, and I thought it came from his ability to be just open and honest. So that was sort of number 1. Number 2 was to kill the shame, to be like, yeah, fuck it. I did these things. Here it is. You can't hurt me. You can't use it if I put it out there. I mean, you can try, and people have, by the way, but there's no shame in it. I put it out there. So, I mean, there's still some small residual sometimes when I think about it, more so that there are people that know and that can use it against me. But I mean, if you're a shitty person, you're going to find things to use against me. And so, like I said, it does happen, but it doesn't affect me like it used to. And lastly, the reason I did it was because she used to say frequently, "You're ashamed of it," and I'm not. And so, fuck you then. Okay, world, guess what we used to do? And so I'm not anymore. Yes, I liked to watch people fuck my wife. I didn't do it in the corner using my tears as lube. I wasn't shamed during it. It wasn't like I guess cuckold, really. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like putting me down. It wasn't degrading to me. I was more like a director. honestly. And so I felt like part of me felt like, okay, you think I'm ashamed? Well, here you go. And that leads me to a question that I do get asked. Do you think she listens? I don't know. She's certainly aware of it. I think she does, but I don't know for sure. Um, I think sometimes, very, very rarely, I do episodes. Actually, it's been a very long time, but there were a few in the beginning that I probably did not hoping, well, maybe hoping, I don't know, but in some way, hoping that she is listening, but I do not know. I suspect, um, how could you not, especially early on? She had to be curious. Wouldn't you be? So I don't know for sure. My children are aware, but they don't listen, obviously. Um, but I know that um, before my first episode launched on Instagram, I got a notification once that she liked a photo, and it was a photo of me editing episode 1, and then she unliked it. But so I don't know why she did it. To get attention, perhaps, or to maybe intimidate. Maybe, I don't think so. I don't know. Who knows? Again, trying to figure out motivations of folks is a waste of fucking time. So I don't know, but I know that she has also told my oldest that you are not going to listen to that. So she must know that I talk about our sex life. So, and some folks have asked, well, what, do you think what if your kids do listen? The truth always comes out, no matter if it's on a podcast or if a family member knows certain things. It always comes out. And so again, um, shame does not survive sunlight. I'm not ashamed of being who I am. Um, we were consenting adults and having fun. And so I'm not necessarily proud. I'm not going to wear a t-shirt about it. But I'm not ashamed either. And so if the kids someday hear this, then at least they'll have what I would say is mostly the truth. I mean, obviously there's my bias and spin, but I try to be factual. And so if they happen to hear it, so be it. It's going to come out in some form or fashion anyway. So lastly, I guess, at least I think lastly, I can say I can say now that I am officially divorced. And it's interesting. I found out last night because she messaged me looking for her money, the settlement from the divorce. And I was like, well, is it approved? And she's like, yep, here's a link to the website for the county website, and you can search and see. And sure enough, yeah, it was entered into the courts on the 6th and granted on the 9th. So I found out because she wants some money, which is and it's funny because, well, it's not funny. Well, I mean, you have to laugh at it, but she needs, and this is the kind of person she has turned into. She needs the money to pay her lawyers. And I laugh because it's so perverse. So I'm taking money. I'm gonna have to pull it out of my retirement account and give it to her. And of course, she wants the check now. I'm like, well, I'll get it when I can get it. Like, it's not a simple process. But she needs to tell me that that's what it's for. And so there's this perverse thing where it's like, I have to take money out of my retirement account to give to her so she can pay her lawyer that she got to divorce me. It's just, it's so fucked up in so many ways. But there's nothing I can do about that. It is what it is, right? That's a phrase I've kind of been leaning on. And I think a lot of us lean on, right? It is what it is. What can I do? It is perverse in some ways. It's just kind of disgusting. Like, I have to pay you I have to pay you so you can pay lawyers that destroyed my life, right? Destroyed my family. It's when they say life isn't fair, boy, they ain't fucking lying, whoever they are. It ain't fair. It isn't fair. But I have no choice in the matter. So I'm moving funds around and trying to get everything set to to pay her the money that I have to pay her. And it's interesting that she tells me why she needs the money. I think it's a little bit of a dig, you know. At least it feels that way, but I don't know. Maybe she's just being honest and transparent, and yeah, and that's just, she just wants to be factual. I don't know. It seems like kind of like a turning of the knife, so to speak. Salt in the wound, whatever phrase you want to use, but um, it seems that way, and it seems like that's kind of how she is lately. I think she, and by the way, if she is listening, I would, in some ways, I would be interested to know for sure. But again, it's a waste of time, and I'm not having the conversation. So, but I sometimes, I don't communicate with her very much. I think most of you know that. I don't speak to her in person anyhow, very, very rarely. I think she would like that. I think she is lonely. This is all speculation. I don't know. I know dating has not been successful for her, nor for I, obviously. I'm still single. And so I think that she is probably lonely, and I think that she would probably prefer some interaction with me. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not sure what that means, or I don't think that she sits around missing me. She might. I don't know. I have no idea. Wouldn't matter if she did, but I do think she would prefer some interaction, and I think sometimes she does things to get interaction, and I just don't give it. I just don't have any interest. It would be much better. My life would be much better if I never had to communicate with her again. It would be a lot easier, as I'm sure most of you know. This is the difficulty in this whole process, or shit show, whatever you want to call it. It's that you don't just get rejected, and you don't just get your life and family and identity destroyed by someone, but you also still have to interact with that person in a way where you have to grin and bear it. It's really fucking hard, because it would be easier if I just didn't have to deal with her, because I wouldn't have to be reminded of, oh, this is what can go through your mind. Oh, I'm not good enough for this person, and I still have to be nice to them. And it's hard. It's incredibly hard. I would be okay if I never ever had to talk to her again. I really would be. It would make this a lot easier. But speaking of easier and hard, the question is, I suppose, how am I doing? How am I feeling about it all? And it's funny, because I talked to Chris this morning, and I said, I texted him, well, it's official, and he called me right away, which, God bless that man. I love him so very much. And he said, I'm going to say two things to you, because I've been there where you are. He said, I'm going to say congratulations, and I'm going to say I am so very sorry. And man, did he hit it right on the head, because that's where I'm at. And it depends on the moment. Now, so we'll put the congratulations portion to the side. Let's talk about the I am so sorry portion. I am so sorry, of course, it means that there was a loss, that there was a sadness, and there is a sadness. I am sad. This is not what I wanted. This is not my choice. I don't think ultimately this is for the best for our children. I do not. Look at the stats. I've seen the effects on the children. And here's the thing about that, and I won't stray too much. We don't know how this is going to affect them, because this is really going to affect them as they get older and they get into their own relationships. And what kind of insecurities and problems is this going to throw into their already difficult dynamic, or already difficult task of navigating a relationship? You're providing them with a poor template. I mean, if you go back to even episode 12, and Joey Ponarelli, he talks about that. He's a child of divorce, and he talks about, we don't have a template. We don't have a map, I can't remember his nomenclature. I think he said map. I think roadmap even. We don't have a roadmap for what it looks like, for what a healthy relationship and marriage looks like. And so they're at a disadvantage. So therefore, it's not good for them, I don't think. But I don't think it bears out until later on in their life. I don't. And so I think some people, oh, kids are resilient, which makes me want to punch people when people say that bullshit, like as if they have any other fucking choice. So it wasn't my choice. I don't think it's a good thing, but here it is. And so I have a choice now. Now, I think it's important to sit with that sadness. I think it's important to acknowledge it and say, yes, it's sad. It is sad. I did not get married to get divorced. I did not. No one does. I did love her. I did want to make it work. I would have done anything to make it work. I would have worked on it. And that's the thing that sometimes does sort of throw me for a loop. When I think about how I was as a husband and partner throughout the marriage and the relationship, I was shitty for the first 6-7 years, maybe 5 to 7 years, 5 to 6 years. I'm not sure. For a good chunk in the beginning, I was not a good partner. I was a piece of shit in a lot of ways. But man, did I learn. I learned from my mistakes. I got better. I got more attentive. I got more, I made mistakes though. I'm a human. But that's the thing sometimes I think about, but I became a better partner. But she left as I got better. And I'm not talking about like I flashed some things here in terms of like, oh, I got a little better. And then I progressively, I'm a kind of guy who, for whatever reason, and there's childhood things there, I'm sure, but I'm always interested in trying to be better. Now I fail at it. I'm a human. But I'm always interested in trying to be better. I was in therapy. I was reading books. I was doing the things I'm doing now, just not to the degree that I tackled them afterwards, but I was always getting better in some kind of way. Now, sometimes I was probably taking steps backwards for sure, but that's sometimes something that throws me. And the thing is, and this is sort of a rabbit hole here, but when I think about all of this and where it headed and what happened, and I think about my role in it and her role in it, and I think about the effects and what it's done, I know this much. I know that while I was half responsible for the demise, or half responsible for, I shouldn't say that, half responsible for the problems, right? I know that my mistakes were not because I'm a shitty person. I want you to listen to this. I want this to be very clear to you. It's not because we were shitty people. It's because we didn't have the best skills. We made mistakes. It was because we're fucking human. And here's the part that sometimes brings me solace. And again, I want this to be very clear to you. In the next relationship that your ex gets in, there will be problems. There will be issues, because it will involve two humans trying to navigate a relationship together. And that is fucking hard. And so you're not the sole reason. You may have fucked up. No, you did fuck up. We all do. But so will the next one and the next one and the next one. And the difference between us and them is we didn't run. We didn't bury our head in the sand. We didn't give up. We didn't quit. They are quitters. We are not. And so I take solace in that sometimes, because she's going to have, and she's had, by the way, other relationships, and they didn't last. Why is that? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with me, because I wasn't fucking involved. And so did I have issues and flaws and did I fuck up? Yeah, we all do. It's not about how good a person is. I mean, obviously there's some things that you can do that are, way outside of the norm. But I'm talking about just normal human fucking up happens. So it's not about the ability to not fuck up. It's about the ability to work together when any one of us fucks up in the relationship. And so what have they learned in this process? And again, I want to be very fucking clear about this. They have learned nothing. They have learned how to run the fuck away. And I hope and pray to whoever it is that you look to as a deity, that you are taking this opportunity to work on yourself so that we don't have these relationship failings again, at least to the best of our ability. We're doing things to make sure that these things don't happen again. And what are they doing? What did they do? They fucking ran. They didn't do anything to help themselves, their children, or anyone else in their lives, to be quite frank with you, because they can't be happy. Because here's why: because their happiness to them comes from someone else. I'm not happy in this relationship. It must be you. I may have some issues, but they're fixable. Anything is fixable. But they didn't learn that lesson. They learned that if it's too hard, or if it's not making them feel a certain way, and there's obviously truth to, it has to be a good relationship. You have to feel good about it. You have to be compatible in certain ways. But when you're talking about marriage and you're together for 10, 15, 20, 25, 35 years, that goes out the fucking window, because you spent that long period of time together, right? So it's not like it's like, oh, I just realized after dating for a little while that we're not going to work out. No, you were together for years. And so while there were problems that maybe they weren't dealt with in totality, but they were gotten over and through, and maybe not the best way, and you could have done better for sure. But the point is they eventually just gave up and learned nothing through this process. And so if you're out there and you're struggling, take solace in that you have an opportunity to work on yourself to be a better man. Don't fucking throw it away by just going and dating immediately, or being bitter and angry all the fucking time. It's just a waste. Use this opportunity. Be better than them. And maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. I don't know, but it's not for me. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy to think that it's not that I was a shitty husband. I did some shitty things here and there for sure. I was a good husband, I think. I made mistakes for sure, but I'm a provider, right? I've always had decent jobs. They got better as the years went on. Again, progress, man. I think it was before we were married, I was making $57,000 a year. And now I'm way past that. And even during the marriage, I made I always climbed the ladder. And so I provided, we took vacations, we took cruises, we had a good life financially. She wasn't beaten, she wasn't, at least I don't think, treated poorly. I'm not saying I never fucked up. I certainly did, but she had a good life, and she chose to leave it. And to me, that will forever and always make her a quitter. And I can at least say, we can at least say that we're not quitters. We can give up. We have fortitude, right? We have the ability to hang on and to try and fix things. We didn't give up. And so as we go forward in this process and we work on ourselves, we have the ability to be even better, and then thus attract even better, more healthy people that are able to have difficult discussions and deal with issues as they come up. That's what's important. It's the ability issues are going to come. We are going to hurt them, and they are going to hurt us. How is it dealt with? Has to be dealt with. And you have to have those skills. And now you have an opportunity to gain those. So that was a giant fucking rabbit hole. So anyway, let me shift back to the other portion of what Chris said, which is congratulations. And so now here is where mindfulness and some of the things I teach about how to look at the world essentially comes into play. You have the ability to determine your thoughts, and your thoughts determine your life. And so while you got to honor all of your thoughts, maybe that's not quite right. You at least have to be mindful and recognize them, and then figure out which ones you want to focus on or honor or whatever. But I'm going to honor, and I have honored my sadness. I was pretty sad this evening. I went and did some driving and stuff, but here's the thing. That other portion that Chris said, congratulations, that is true. It's been 3.5 years, and I am finally done with it. She can no longer hold it over my head. She can no longer delay things in my life. Like, this is done. It's done. It's over. I made it to the end. There's a finality here. She can't divorce me again. Congratulations. You made it. And it's not a congratulations in the sense that I'm glad it happened. It's a congratulations in the sense that it's over and you did it. And you didn't lose everything in the process. You lost some things. I lost some things for sure, my family and a whole fuck ton of money, but I did not lose myself. And in some ways I fucking found myself. For sure, I am absolutely positively a better man than I was when I started this process. 100 fucking percent. And so someday, not today, I'm going to look back and I think I'm going to thank her for this. I do believe that. I don't think that that's going to be today. It's definitely not going to be today. I don't think it'll be tomorrow. I don't know when it'll be. It will probably be in a few years, 4, 5, 10, maybe. I don't know, but I have found myself in this process. And I should say I'm finding myself. It's still a process, but I wouldn't have dove into it. I wouldn't have learned the things I've learned. I wouldn't have done the things I fucking have done if it wouldn't have been for this, if it wouldn't have been for her decision. So not only did she quit, not only is she a quitter, not only is she not had the ability and the fortitude to see things through, I also in that process gained and have become a better man. And so congratulations is a fucking appropriate. And I will be celebrating in some form or fashion. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure the old Mike is going to come out of me and the old Mike is going to throw a big fucking party. And I don't know when or where. And it might be 2 parties because I might do something smaller now during the winter, indoors smaller. And then come spring, summer, I have a pretty big yard, almost an acre. I might throw a big fucking party and celebrate it because yes, I am sorry. It is sad, but congratulations because you're a fucking warrior and you endured and you can't be divorced again. Obviously, if I get married again, but I don't know if that's ever going to fucking happen, but not with her for sure. And so she can't ever divorce me again. It's over. It's done. She can't hang it over my head. There's no negotiation tactics. There's no bullshit that I have to deal with. That's it. It's done. I mean, I got a little bit more bullshit in terms of the money and transfers and paperwork and all that shit, but essentially it's over. It's done. She can't hang it over my head. She can't divorce me again. So congratulations is an appropriate expression, but be mindful that it's not the only expression. There is a sadness. There always will be. It will lessen. It will hit at different times. And I have been this, like I said this evening, I was sad, not curled up in a ball crying, just sad. It's a shame. It's too bad. It's unfortunate. But it also led me to this and what I'm doing. And I want to wrap up with this on that note. What am I doing? I am fucking psyched and happy to say that, as I said in my coaching episode, I was going to have 5 slots open for $500 and there's only 1 slot left. And it's pretty fucking awesome. I've been gifted with these amazing men that have joined my program and that I'm working with. And it's what I'm meant to do. I believe that. And again, if she wouldn't have been such a coward and a quitter, I wouldn't be here. So in some ways I have to thank her. Not yet. I'm not ready to say that because it's been so hard. But someday I think I will reflect and say, I don't think I'll ever say it to her. And if she's listening, she'll hear this obviously, but I don't think I'll ever say it to her face. But if it wasn't for her cowardice, if it wasn't for her inability to do anything other than quit and run, I wouldn't be able to help the men that I'm helping. And it's pretty fucking amazing. So I think that's it. That's all I got. If you're interested in working with me, you can hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I have a couple of episodes that I'm going to be recording soon. I'm recording one with I believe she's a psychologist. I had the pre-interview, and we're going to talk about negative thought loops. Super excited about that one. And I reached out to the wonderful, amazing Dr. MC McDonald, because she has a book coming out soon in March, and I'll have the details. But I'm going to have her back on the show, and there are few people in this world that I admire and respect as much as her. So I am so super excited to get her back on the show. So that's coming up. I don't know when. She just said, yeah, let's do it, but we haven't booked the time yet. And so I don't know, a couple weeks-ish. I don't know if she wants to wait closer to book release date or not. I will for sure let you know, or you'll just see the episode. So again, thank you all so much for listening and for being a part of this. And please reach out if you want to be on the pod, if you want to do a real men, real stories, if you have comments or questions, or you want help with anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Thank you to those of you that have reached out. It's been really humbling and amazing, and I'm not done yet. We have so many more things to cover, and so many more things that I want to discuss, and so many more people. I'm going to wrap up with this. I lied and I said I was going to wrap up with the last thing. This year, I'm really going to. I'm probably going to start bringing some guests back. It's harder. It's getting harder and harder to find new folks, but I have made it a mission in life to get Mr. Corey Taylor of Slipknot on the podcast, because he has been divorced twice, and I've made some contacts with some folks that know Corey, and I'm trying to see if I can get him on. I am stubborn, so I will not quit. I want Corey Taylor on my podcast, because I want, for a lot of reasons, not just for, oh my God, it's Corey Taylor, everybody come listen to this. Although, let's be honest, that's probably a part of it. But that song Snuff by Slipknot, and I'm sure many of you fellas out there know it, that was a crutch or a life preserver for me many moments during the initial stages. That song was fucking written for us that are going through an unwanted divorce. That song means so much to me, and I want to tell Corey that, face to face would be cool, but at least via Zoom. So by the end of the year, if I don't have Corey Taylor on this podcast, I'm going to feel like a failure. And so, like I said, I am working with some folks and I've contacted some folks and had some conversations with some folks. But if anyone out there knows anyone that knows anything about anyone that knows anything about Corey Taylor, please reach out to me. So that is my new one of my new missions in life. So stay tuned for the information in the next few weeks about the Chris show, and like I said, the Dr. MC McDonald show as well. All right, that's it. That's all I got. I hope you are well. If not, please don't hesitate to reach out. Take care and much love. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.